Hey Branson, how you doing?
Doing all right, sir. How about yourself?
What's that?
I'm doing all right, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, good, good. Doing fine, far as I know. You is
Mm.
everybody clear of the virus now?
Yeah, still just get tired and have headaches, but other than that, yeah, the virus is gone. It's just the after effects.
Well, I hope that doesn't last too much longer.
No, I hope not either. I've been having like these terrible headaches, and it's just the after effect of how bad it's on your sinuses.
Yeah, does it respond to aspirin or whatever?
No, not really. Most times I have to just lay down and let it subside. It's like pressure pain, like a sinus pressure type
Oh
headache.
wow.
So
Well, stop it, will you?
I'm trying to.
Jeez, it's not good.
I think it. Did you notice how Kanye West wrote out his album?
No, I didn't. What do you do?
So,
He's always
so
doing something.
basically, well, he pretended. Me personally, I think he pretended like he wasn't having the right sound. So at first he went to Atlanta and rented out the stadium and said, "Hey, for $200 a pop, you can come in and listen to the album with me and tell me what I need to change." Sold out the stadium.
Oh wow.
Turn around, said,
Wow.
"I got feedback." Went to New York, did it again. Then he ended it in Soldier Field. And every time he's selling out stadiums in the time when the football teams can't sell out stadiums. So he made
Incredible.
like we figured up, me and our partner, we figured up every stadium he made at least after paying everything out about 5 million per stadium for them to come listen to his album, him not perform, him just play his album in a stadium. Um, then when he dropped it,
That is one. That is one smart dude, man.
he broke out of streaming records when he dropped it yesterday. So that was
I'll bet.
pretty.
God almighty, that's crazy. Let me get Andy set up here.
Sounds
Um,
awesome.
hey Andy,
Greetings. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Andy, you look younger every time I see you. Retirement really agrees with you. You're getting younger. How in the hell are you doing that? It's unbelievable.
And you get more gracious every time I speak to you.
I'm getting gray and you're getting young. It's like we're in some kind of movie or something. I don't know.
No, no, no. It's the wonders of the illusions of video.
Yeah. Really, that would be an awesome tool that you add if you on Zoom, you click this button and you look awesome all of a sudden, right?
That's right. That's right. I think that's a premium feature, but one well worth paying for.
Yeah, yeah. So especially our age, Andy. I'm older than you even.
That's right. I don't know about that.
How old are you?
I bet we're in a horse race. I'm just a little over 60.
I'm 65.
Oh my goodness. You sure
Yeah.
don't look it.
Oh,
You
thank you.
look
No, it's my immaturity. I pride myself on my immaturity. As my wife said, you may
Oh,
be 65, but there's other parts that aren't, other
that's right.
personality. So hi Grant, how are you today?
Hey, Dennis, I'm doing good.
All
Just
right.
ran back in the rainstorm though, so that was unfortunate.
Oh, it's sunny here. Here
Oh,
in the
really?
middle of nowhere. We I don't know how to describe it. It's just a
It's
weird.
just weird.
I talk to people
Yeah.
all the time and they're having rain and all this stuff. And I look out my window and it's sunny.
It's raining here. It just
Oh
finished
wow.
pouring down.
Well,
Yeah, my girlfriend was doing a Rotaract event and she got absolutely drenched. She like ran to my apartment because she needed shelter for a second, but it downpoured by the sounds of it, and it's just drizzling now.
can you see my little tiny violin, Grant? I'm just
That's right. My mother lives in Philadelphia. She's expecting the hurricane rains to be coming through today.
Yeah,
So,
that's what they said about us today, but it hadn't happened here. Maybe it's going through Greenville. I'm about 50 miles south of Greenville. So
okay.
I think it may be on a track, which often happens. Don't ask me why, but often the weather kind of goes above us. Uh, I don't know. We're only about 45 miles from the ocean, so
Hmm.
we do get some. Like I'll go out for a walk and I go, man, it feels exactly like the ocean here. The air and the sky and the way it feels is, it's interesting how a lot of that is geographic in nature.
That's right.
So, all right. Hey, Jane, how are you?
Doing great.
All right. You are in for a treat today with my friend Andy.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, hopefully you're not building this up too much, Dennis.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How you doing, Janae?
Doing great.
Yeah. So Andy has forgotten more about consumer product goods than all of us have learned to begin with. So that's what I like about Andy. He's seen it all, done a lot of it, and he's such a nice guy. He smiles and he's patient. I just don't know how he came through the meat grinder of large corporate America, and it's pretty normal. It's amazing, really.
It is a bit of a resilience battle. Because especially at a large corporation, I spent 32 years at large 5 billion and greater size corporations. And you know what? They try to do so many things. There are so many functions. There are so many things to keep in mind that it really is a heck of a ride. But then again, being an entrepreneur and having a small firm, you're running everything.
Yeah.
So,
As
so
my
the-
old friend used to say to me, none of us get out of life alive.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Everyone pays the price one way or the other.
Exactly. I don't think there's one easy path or one magic formula that just makes life easy. I think no matter what you do and how you do it, keeping a good attitude, keeping a sense of humor, and just remembering that it's all about people, those will get you through.
What I really like, and I'm going to turn it over to Andy in a second, I promise I'll shut up, but Simon Sinek, who I'm a big fan of, and I know Andy is as well, he has a line where he says that you have to understand what kind of game you're playing. Are you playing a finite game or an infinite game? And I think most of us go through life playing finite games, like I'll get this job, I'll get married, I'll buy a house, it's all these steps and you kind of see it as, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think really the truth is it's an infinite game, and it never stops, and it comes in different forms at different times of your life and different as you educate yourself and become aware. But I think we all have to realize that everybody's path can be challenging. So that's my soapbox for today. I'm going to turn it over to our good friend Andy Gilicinski, who is an experienced executive in the consumer product good category. I won't steal all his thunder, give you all his bona fides, but I met him when he was working on acquiring Burt's Bees for Clorox. And Burt's Bees, many of you know, is a North Carolina company that's done really well. And so Andy and I have been friends for a long time, and he's been there we go. Andy's been a good friend of this program. He always says yes whenever I ask him anything. It's just wonderful. He even came to campus one time when that was legal. And we had a lot of fun. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andy. Hopefully the controls are there, Andy. And if not, let me know, and we'll blame Grant for not getting it done right.
Sounds great. So I'm Andy Gilicinski. I work for a number of consumer products companies, Gillette, Clorox, Georgia Pacific, and SC Johnson for a 32-year run in big companies. And for the last 2 years, I'm living the dream that I've always had of starting up my own firm. And I have an advisory firm where I basically take both the innovation and the M&A experience that I picked up over my consumer products days and help a variety of companies and private equity firms both acquire companies, assess technologies, and do innovation work. So that's my quick intro. I would love if everybody could just 10, 20 seconds, just introduce yourselves so that it would help create a vibe where, we're all having a conversation during the next hour rather than me just talking at you. So
Branson, why don't you go first, Branson?
Branson Edwards, Big Bougie. I'm a urban music and content creator. I have a digital radio station and try to work with local businesses and different artists to build their brand.
very cool. Very cool.
Grant, go ahead. I know you're just an intern, but you're important to us.
Hey everybody. I am just the intern, as Dennis says, but
But an
I am
important,
kind of do what?
an important intern.
An important intern. Oh, I'm flattered, Dennis. You made me blush. But no, I'm actually starting up my own business outside of the program, called In-House Call. So I'm an ECU student, and we entered into the Pirate Entrepreneurship Challenge and did pretty well. So I'm working on, it's like a hospital communications app, and it helps streamline the communications process. But that's the other side of me here. I'm just the important intern.
Yeah. So Andy, Grant won the Pirate Challenge last year.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Andy's been honorary whatever for the Pirate Challenge. He's done all kinds of
That's
stuff.
right.
He knows what it's all about.
Are you a judge?
No,
Uh,
above the judges.
above the judges? Pays
Yeah,
the
we
judges.
gotta. He's the
I
judge
got-
of the
I
judges.
got to wave the pirate flag in October
I
2019.
will find that picture and post it because he is flying the flag, and all those people from Wisconsin were mad at him because of that.
That's right.
Ileana, you're next.
Oh, I just got in.
Just tell us about yourself real quick.
Oh, okay. My name is Ileana Rojas Bennett, and I am jewelry designer, award winning, and I have my own jewelry store in Greenville, and that's all I do.
Fantastic.
That's a lot. Hey, Jane.
Hi, I'm Janae Adams. I do financial wellness for employees at corporations and financial literacy for college students and high school students. And so I speak on stages around the world.
That's awesome. You're earning points in heaven for that.
Yeah.
I hope so.
John Arnold.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey.
I'm John Arnold. We own Cherry Orchard Foods, which is a family-owned business. We make gourmet food mixes.
And he is one of the pioneers of live streaming e-commerce, Andy. He's been doing
Fantastic.
it longer than anyone I've met so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's really something. And then Kayam, you're next.
Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Bateman, and I am owner and operator of Opal's Candy. We produce brittles and fancy nuts.
Fantastic. Sounds tasty.
Yeah, I keep hoping he'll send me free samples. Hadn't happened yet, though, Andy. I'm working on it. Quandell.
Hello, Quandell Chanel. I am full-time. I am a medical coder. My business is Freedom Hill brand, where we sell apparel, accessories online via Shopify's platform.
Fantastic. Great to meet you.
Ruth Taylor. Are you there, Ruth?
Hi, yes,
Hey.
I'm here. Sorry, I just got caught in a rainstorm. So grand entrance with wet hair. I'm Ruth Taylor. I'm the owner and chief jammer of Mrs. Ruth's Jams and Syrups.
And
Fantastic.
Andy, they are to die for. So that's more samples I'm waiting on.
All right,
Okay.
Dennis, you just tell me your favorite flavor.
I'm just kidding. Tamara.
Good afternoon. My name is Tamara. I am an RN by trade, psychiatric registered nurse, but I own an e-commerce store called Inspired Creations, and we create stationery and home decor items.
Very cool.
I think that's everybody at this moment anyway.
That's fantastic. No, I very much appreciate you introducing yourselves and really look forward to talking about branding. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And Dennis, let me know if there's anything special I need to do.
Just be able to share screen and
share. Okay, share screen. Good, good, good. It's coming up. And let me know if you can see a September 1st slide deck. So I introduced myself already in terms of my background, 20 years in consumer packaged goods. I was in chemicals for 12 years before that, which was super helpful background. The claims to fame that I'm very proud of are launching over $500 million of incremental year one sales of new products. That includes a new brand, Greenworks Cleaners, and a number of SKUs in a range of areas from personal care, antiperspirants, deodorants, batteries, paper products, bath tissue, air fresheners, all kinds of crazy things. I've had a very mixed up, very diverse career, but it's a wonderful way of gaining perspective and getting a chance for somebody like me that got trained as a chemist to get involved in the wonderful world of consumer products, which are all products made with chemistry and engineering, but there is so much business and even more, so much human psychology that goes into being successful and coming up with products that people want to buy and being able to create value. And along the way, I also got involved in M&A. As Dennis mentioned, I helped buy Burt's Bees, proud North Carolina brand, still in North Carolina, by the way, and more recently, a sunscreen brand called Sunbum, a little over 2 years ago when I was running M&A at SC Johnson. I'm now running my own firm. And what I want to do today is talk primarily about branding in consumer packaged goods, the role of new brands and of startups in helping to bring new brands to life. What I'd like to cover are the power and the value of branding, some ways of thinking about attributes or elements of branding, and how do you measure them? How do you know when you've got a good, successful brand? And the role of new brands in consumer goods. You know, sometimes we may feel like all the good brands are already out there, and yet it's just amazing how many new brands are being created every day. And there are a significant number of them that are very successful, some in astonishingly short periods of time. And hopefully that's going to be all of you. What I'll do is pause as we go and would love to have your questions, conversation, reaction, and talk about it together. This is a learning thing for all of us together. I'd like to start with the question of, so you want to be a consumer brand. Let me actually go back. I will go into the slide mode. The interesting thing about brands is just how valuable they can be. This is a list of the top 10 brands. It's now ancient. It's a year ago from Forbes, the world's most powerful brands or most valuable brands. And I'd like to pause here and see who would like to shout out which is actually the most valuable brand on this list. Just jump in.
Well, looks like Apple to me.
That's a good guess. Any other thoughts?
Louis Vuitton.
Ooh, a fashion brand aficionado. That's a great guess. Very good, Branson. Anyone else has a guess?
Amazon?
I'm sorry,
Amazon.
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 Oh, ooh, that's certainly a powerful one. No question about it. The surprise answer here is it's Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
And the metric around what the most valuable brand is the difference between the brand revenue and the brand value. The brand revenue, of course, is the sales of the brand in a given year. And Amazon was a great guess. The thing is just huge. All of these are great selling brands. The brand value is the combination of the assets of the company, but also the pricing power and the media power and the consumer recognition of that brand. if you look, some brands, for example, the revenue of Apple is 260 billion, the value is 241 billion. The numbers are relatively close. For some, the brand value is actually lower than the revenue. Look at Amazon, 260 billion in revenue, and the brand value is only half of that. So clearly, Amazon has tremendous market reach. But if you brand something with Amazon's brand, you aren't necessarily going to pay the kind of premium for it that you might with other brands. Coca-Cola, 25 billion in revenue, and the brand value is more than double that. And what that reflects is the power that Coca-Cola has in being able to get distribution, being able to get on shelf at stores, being able to command a price premium, and to be able to have the mind share with consumers that will have them think of that brand more readily than they'll think of competitors within that space. And really, at the end of the day, a brand is an emotional connection, a promise to a consumer. And what Coke is obviously doing is they have a promise and a relationship with consumers around what their beverage offerings are that is just very powerful to people. And one of the ways that they built that power is the consistency with which they have marketed themselves. This is a brief graphic that just reflects the way their logo has changed literally over more than a century now. And you'll notice that, they started in 1886, which is very, very sort of simple typography for their brand. By 1900, they were beginning to hit upon the look of the scripted Coca-Cola name that we're all familiar with today. And it has gone through some upgrades and changes over the years, but it's still substantially the same as it was at the turn of the last century. And even the shape of the bottle, if you look at the bottom left, the initial bottles were kind of more utilitarian, but they hit upon their iconic bottle shape around 1900, and they have stuck with that. They've even got copyrights and trademarks around what their bottle shape looks like so that they are instantly recognizable by consumers. Even if you don't see that scripted Coca-Cola, which with the bottles that have the white scripting on it in the middle, the glass may or may not be easy to read if the bottle is empty, but you still know that that's a bottle of Coca-Cola. And that consistency is really what has helped them drive the power of their brands. There are a lot of examples out there where people change taglines all the time and change the way their brand looks, and it dilutes the power because it really doesn't allow the consumer to get used to it and to reinforce it over and over again. With those of us that are familiar with some of the Procter & Gamble brands, it's people that are older might remember Mr. Whipple and Please Don't Squeeze the Charmin. Those ads were on all the time. And, you just got used to what that brand stood for, a soft bath tissue. And guess what? Today, even though the ads have changed, what Charmin stands for is still the same. And that's really a part of the power of building a brand that lives in people's minds and helps develop that relationship with people over time. So I'll pause for any questions, reactions. This is surprising to you?
I think what I find surprising is the length of time it's like in this Coca-Cola example, it's essentially been the same or a derivative of the same.
Yeah,
long time.
That enduring nature lets the marketing campaigns and all the advertising and the work that to build that consumer awareness gets reinforced. You're not changing the messaging, you're not messing with the branding look and feel. You're really staying consistent. Now that's easy if you're doing a good job of it. If a brand is struggling, then it's a harder call to decide, do I change something or do I stick with something that's clearly not working? So it's obviously easy and fun to show a successful example. It's a harder challenge to talk about a brand that needs something to invigorate it. What might that be? But in general, being very consistent is very helpful for creating a much more powerful brand.
What's interesting to me about that also is that I've always been taught about business cycles, kind of how long the business cycle is, kind of the various peaks and valleys that business cycles go through. And this looks like branding kind of transcends business cycles to some degree, at least in the case of Coca-Cola. It appears that, if you look at all the things that happened in this long period of time, they basically kept on trucking.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting point, Dennis, because they changed their offering many times over this more than a century of their existence. They started with glass bottles, they experimented with plastic, of course, aluminum cans, and they varied their formula to some degree. They kept the core formula, but they went to cherry Coke. They even tried the new Coke, the infamous example from back 2 decades ago that seemed like such a debacle. And there are some people that think they actually made that mistake on purpose because their net sales grew. When they brought back Coke Classic, which was their old formula, they kept new Coke available. And guess what? Grocery stores had to put both on shelf.
Wow.
And guess what? They had more shelf space than they had before. So, it's hard to say whether, people were fired or jumped out of windows when the new Coke debacle happened, or whether they're snickering in the background. They go, oh, everyone thinks this is a disaster, but we doubled our shelf space.
Three-dimensional chess, once again, I got defeated.
Exactly. Yeah, well, it's a very complex game, and it actually it's a great reminder, actually. This is kind of on a tangent, but it's so important. In consumer goods, being on shelf is the most important correlation with sales. If you're not on shelf, obviously you ain't selling. The more shelf space you have, the more you sell, the more you're visible to people, the more you have a chance to celebrate your product, to showcase it, to use the shelf as a billboard to advertise yourself. And so distribution is just key. Everyone thinks you got to have the cool new product. That's great. If you can't get on shelf, and if you can't convince a retailer to give you incremental space to add that, a few of other things on shelf, you bring something new, they might say, great, what do you want taken off? Your shelf space ain't increasing unless you've got a heck of a story on how you're going to be able to grow that retailer sale by getting incremental space. So, but being on shelf is the key. Let me jump into newer brands, because it's easy to look at something iconic that's been around for over 100 years. How about more recent stuff? I love starting with this example because several of you have food businesses, which I think are great. Annie's took on one of the most boring, uninnovative, sort of commoditized parts of the shelf, which was mac and cheese. Kraft mac and cheese, iconic, been around forever. How many generations of us grew up on the stuff? And Annie's was founded by Annie, the entrepreneur, in 1989, with the idea that she wanted to have, instead of this neon yellow and all kinds of unpronounceable chemical ingredients, she wanted to have stuff that felt like it was straight from the farm. Good dairy cheese, good pasta made with wheat from the farm. And so she began selling it literally from the back of her car. The photo above is literally from within the first year of founding, as they're going store to store, starting with, local Whole Foods kind of organic food stores. And people really began enjoying it. And it started growing. They did some fundraising, went growth, went public, and then ended up getting bought out for $820 million by General Mills in 2014. Annie's now has more shelf space. If you go to a grocery store, try the test, see if I'm fooling you or not. Go to the store, look at the shelf space of Annie's. It's bigger than Kraft mac and cheese today. And this is for a very humble, very commodity food that nobody thought had any life in it as a hotbed of innovation back when Annie's was founded in 1989. A great example also that's very personal for me, because I worked at Gillette back during its golden years, 2000 to 2005, where they were literally printing money. They had 80% dollar share in the $6 billion US market. It was incredible. And here, this little startup brand, Harry's, was founded 2013. They bought themselves some used blade making equipment, set up a factory, got distribution in Target 2 years later. And they ended up getting a bid from Energizer to be sold for $1.4 billion, just less than 5 years later. Just amazing success story.
Wow.
And it was partly the success they had at building their brand, getting distribution, just showing that they had a different proposition than, the Gillette, keep adding blades, premium pricing, and best demand can get kind of messaging. Harry's took a different approach and really created a valuable brand. And last but not least, in the cleaning space, which is one I have a lot of passion for, this is a very recent example. Actually, it's a little older now, but this was founded about 2.5 years ago, February 2019. Truman's brand, the buck stops here. They used something called a Just Add Water system. It's a plastic reduction play. You reuse your spray bottle and you just fill it with water, and you just swap in these cartridges that have, whether it's kitchen cleaner, shower cleaner, glass cleaner, whatever it might be. You can see it in the picture at the lower right. It goes in right under the spray head, and as the water comes out of the bottle, it mixes with just a little bit of the formula and dispenses the spray product cleaner that you're looking for. And when you're done with that, you just throw away the cartridge instead of the entire spray bottle. And this was invented back in the early 2000s. When I was at Clorox in 2005, I looked at this and I said, yeah, no one's going to want to do this. No one wants to be a chemist. Breaks my heart because I'm a chemist, but nobody wants to be me. And so passed on a lot of things. And Truman started in 2019 with this. Within 3 months, they were able to get distribution in Target. And by September, 6 months later, they got a $5 million investment from Henkel. And so it just shows how smart I was. But it also shows that times can change. They perceived that reducing plastic and a concern about ocean plastic and climate effects of waste in our world were really reaching a point where consumers were going to be motivated to make a different purchase and to follow that. So they read the trends, they read the consumers, they read the moment, and they took 15-year-old technology and they were able to create a brand around it. So it doesn't just require new invention, new science, new food processing. You can take something that's been around, come up with a different way of creating a brand promise and creating an emotional relationship with the consumer, and you can win. Another example in a category that I would regard as a humble one is in flushable wipes for personal toileting. This new brand showed up. It was part of a Shark Tank thing 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. That's right. And they had this proposition that, so much of the advertising for Charmin and all the big bath tissue and wet wipes brands, Continental, were aimed at the female consumer. There wasn't something that kind of seemed manly. And yet there was a pretty good bet that roughly half the population were not female consumers, and they probably needed these kinds of products. So they created the brand, kind of created messaging around it, fragrance-free, the man's wipe. They got distribution in Target within a year. Today, they're in 12,000 stores. By the way, Walmart only has 4,000 stores in the US, so they're in a lot of places. This is actually outdated. They were the number 2 toilet product. And their sales are now well over $100 million. And this is a LinkedIn post that came out a couple months ago from the CEO, calls himself the chief executive dude from Dude Wipes, that is crowing about how for the wet tissue category at Walmart, they exceeded the sales of Charmin. They beat the market leader. And, he's saying, everyone said we didn't have the capital, resources, experience, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Passion, hunger, authenticity win every day of the week. And that is just a great lesson as an entrepreneur to keep in mind. And it's a great reminder that, hey, new brand taking on ancient giants that you think own the world, you can still win if you have the right proposition, if you figure out that there's a gap, that consumers hunger for something that that isn't quite addressing what they want, and you figure out a brand that can really speak to that and create that relationship. But one of the key things about a brand, and Dennis, let me know if everyone has yet had a chance to see the Simon Sinek video.
It was our very first class.
Oh, that's awesome. As you saw, in the outer ring of the circle, what do you make? Yep, that's a very functional thing to talk about when it comes to branding. Closer in is how. How do you make it? How do you deliver it? How do you meet the consumer's need with that product? But at the core and ultimately at the heart of being able to create a truly emotional relationship with the consumer is why. Why are you doing it? What's important about it? What's meaningful about it? And I can't emphasize enough, it really is finding a way to create that higher level purpose around your brand and helping your brand create that emotional connection to your consumers' lives, where it's not just filling a functional need. It's not just a cool story of how you're doing something, but it's about why you're doing it and the purpose behind it. And I'll pause here. I'd love to hear thoughts and reactions as you think about your own brands and your own offerings. How are you thinking about brands for your business? Whether you're looking at designer jewelry or branding awesome urban music or delicious jams.
Yeah. Hey, John Arnold, what do you think?
As usual, I'm trying to wrap my mind around. That's really some great information. It's something I think about quite often, how we can really distinguish our dip mixes from our competitors. And it's just, I don't know, it's something that kind of escapes me for the most part. We try to use the slogan that your party starts here with our products, that we're the place to buy the products that you need to have your family event or your party or whatever, tailgate party, whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
But how we actually really distinguish our products is something that we constantly talk about and think about.
John, that I appreciate your boldly kind of jumping in. Your party starts here sounds really cool to me. If I might, please forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but you're going beyond the what. You're more than party supplies. You're talking about the how. Hey, your party starts here. This is how you go about it. I wonder if you could even elevate it more by talking about the importance of a party in creating memories, in binding family together, in creating a legacy. I'm just making it up here, but
no, that's awesome.
That might be just a way to think about it, kind of using the Simon Sinek inspiration and just thinking about how you can take the journey to the next level to something that like really means everything to people. So,
yeah, I like that. That's great information, Andy. It really is.
Yeah. Ruth, how about you, Ruth? I know Ruth is thinking about this stuff all the time.
Yeah, so I really, the Annie story really resonated with me because I think I'm trying to do a similar sort of thing. I talk about that my jams are love in a jar. And so on every jar, it says made in small batches with love. That's the tagline that's on every single label. And so I think I'm trying to evoke this feeling of that somebody cares for you, that they made something for you by hand. We also tag a lot onto the value prop, if you will, that we're using the best fruit, local fruit or North Carolina fruit, if we can. So I'm really working and thinking about how to refine that brand story. And I really like the example you gave there of Annie's, as I said.
That is awesome, Ruth. I love where you're going with that because you're already touching on the why. Made with love. It just a quick thought may or may not be a good idea, but you might be able to parlay that and keep the tagline you've got, but harness it in your messaging around. Show people every day that you love them. Here's a way you can show your love, because a life worth living is full of everyday love, or something like that. I'm sure there may
I love that. Yeah.
way better ways to do it, but really bringing it to the heart of, people's aspirations, because all of our lives are hard. We're slugging away at, a lot of menial things and, to get through every day. And yet all of us aspire, to just living really meaningful lives. And you may have a wonderful way of being able to help inspire people and how they can do it by buying your awesome jams.
That's great. Thank you so much. I love that idea.
Oh, you got it. I'll bet you'll come up with even better ones, but that's really a path to think about it.
Hey guys, I haven't got the invoice from Andy yet, so
No.
that
is any way I can help. It's all yours. It really is.
I'm kidding. Anyone else want to jump in before we keep going? Because he's got more cool stuff to say. All right, Andy, I think that's all the volunteers at the moment.
Okay, let's keep chugging along. So going into second section, metrics around a powerful brand. Some of the things you want to look for around a brand that really works for you is taking the time, and it sounds so counterintuitive. You got so much to do. How am I going to do this? Take the time to think about your mission, your beliefs, your convictions, the clarity of purpose. It feels like you're kind of doing navel gazing to do that kind of stuff. But I promise you the time will pay off because it helps you get greater clarity around how to talk about your brand. I mean, even in Ruth's case, like she's got a wonderful tagline, thinking about the beliefs and what's important to her consumers' lives, will inspire her to come up with even more wonderful ways to use it to talk to her consumers. And same with John for the parties that can create such incredible memories and moments for people's families and people's lives. Ultimately, you want to capture it in some way that consumers can remember. And one metric around that is unaided awareness. When you talk to consumers and you say, tell me about, sunscreen brands that mean something to you, that you're familiar with in the market, you want them to say your brand's name or your jam or your music or your jewelry and to be able to remember it. And one of the ways you can is by, how you talk about your brand to them in a way that reflects mission, beliefs, convictions, and clarity of purpose. Another measurement method is social media engagement. And this is one where I am so out of my depth on all the different social media that's out there nowadays, but you better believe that's where the action is, and being able to measure people that are following you on Instagram and the likes and the impressions and the earned media that you get, people that love something about Ruth's Jams and repost it and share it with their followers and talk about how they love that cherry flavor that they just tried, and or perhaps John's Cherry Orchard gourmet food. That unearned or earned media is a great reflection, and it's something that's very measurable. And I will tell you, when we purchased Sunbum for an unbelievable premium, the premium partly was reflecting the data that we saw on social media, the way people were talking about this brand, and it just made such a powerful statement. When I talk about mission and beliefs, here are a couple of examples of missions that help reflect the higher purpose that some brands are all about. In the Milwaukee area, right next to where I'm at right now, Harley Davidson's headquarters are there, and they talk very proudly about our missions to fulfill dreams of personal all-American freedom, unabashed about it. Disney, very different mission, to create happiness for people of all ages everywhere. And you can read them and they can evoke different things, but all of them reflect a really careful, measured look at what that brand means and what its mission in life is. And their belief statements as well that can be super inspiring. I always thought Nike's was just amazing. We believe that if you have a body, you're an athlete. Did you know that all of us on this call are athletes? You might not realize that, but when Nike says that, you think, there's something special about that company. they believe in me, it's just a different way of being able to talk about it. An interesting one is Tesla's. We believe the world needs to transition to sustainable energy. That gives you the reason why they not only make cars, but they make solar panels you can put on your roof. They manufacture batteries. They do all kinds of things that goes beyond just having a car at a dealership. And their belief statement gives you the clue why. And it allows the brand to go beyond the initial category that they started with. So, again, these are just examples that are there to sort of inspire you with, what, it's actually worth the time to really think through that mission and those beliefs for your brand. Even if you're early stages, it helps provide kind of the guidance on what you stand for. Another thing that is very measurable, by the way, in terms of metrics around a powerful brand, are the extendability. How far can you go beyond where you initially started? And I'm going to use the example here of the Sunbum brand. Again, this was an acquisition I did 26 months ago. And they, of course, started back in 2011, by the way, just a little over 10 years ago, as a sunscreen brand. They were premium. They decided they stood for something in terms of a beach life, an aspiration to be at the beach, even if you're not physically able to get there, to have that mindset. And they had a very extendable brand. And in fact, they extended into lip balm, because when you are all about the beach, it's not just your skin. Your lips need protection at the beach from the sun too. And guess what? Your baby goes to the beach with you. Their skin is a little bit more delicate. They need special products. Guess what? We're ready to provide them. And sun hair or beach hair. Who knows more about beach hair than the beach brand? And so they were able to very cleverly create a brand that had the inherent capability to be extended. And the power of that in terms of their business model, the sun care market in the US was only $6 billion, only huge, $6 billion. Lip care extended it by 25%. Baby care almost doubled it further. Hair care extended it by many multiples. They ended up being able to extend into categories that were 10 times the size collectively of where they started with sunscreen. And you better believe that that factored into both the size of their business at the time of acquisition, the premium they were able to command. Because if any of you have any aspiration to someday be bought out and to buy an island in the Caribbean and retire on it, eventually you're going to want your business to look as valuable as possible to somebody that can acquire it. And part of the value is the extendability. How far beyond your original business can you go? Can your jewelry go to clothing lines? Can your urban music go to clubs, where not only you're marketing the music, but you're actually playing the music and experiencing it within a physical location? Can your jams go into pies? Can they go into sauces? Can they go into, fruit toppings of various types? Can your, what are the business? Financial wellness, can you go into insurance and actually have a line of insurance products that you sell in addition to financial literacy? These are the kinds of things that can help make your company more valuable, even if you're not working on them right away. If you're thinking about them and sort of making your brand able to be extended and into additional spaces, it gives you room for the future, and it gives you sort of long-term strategic value. Now, not all brands do a great job of this. In fact, legacy brands often have limits to how much they can expand and extend to new needs. One example that is a famous one is Colgate beef lasagna. Who's up for buying that for their family for dinner tonight? Not only did this product fail, but within the 6 months after its introduction in the marketplace, Colgate toothpaste sales tanked by 25%. Because people started getting confused. is there tomato sauce in the toothpaste now? You know, like they didn't know. And it confused the whole meaning of the brand, and they ultimately recovered, but it was not only a bad business extension, but it actually damaged their core brand. And this example is one where these are not real products. This was not a real set of launches, but it's just a thought provoker on, would these be successful? Would a root beer brand make for a good barbecue sauce? Would Dr. Pepper make a great marinade? Would or barbecue sauce? And the jury's probably out on this. I don't know if I'd want to put my retirement income on on these things being successful. But so the extendability is not automatic. You have to earn it and find ways to be able to make it work within your brand. I'd like to pause here and just ask if for any thoughts and reactions on how you're thinking about the extendability and the metrics around your brands. So,
one comment I'll just throw out there that I've heard people talk about in terms of extending yourself is sell new stuff to the old people, right? So if you have a company and you've been selling products, why not figure out new products that you can sell to old people? And then the other way is to take old products and sell to new people.
That's right.
Two ways, I guess.
Exactly right. So thoughts from people that haven't spoken yet. Branson, your thoughts? If you don't mind me just calling out names and that.
Oh, please do. Are you there, Branson? May not be there.
How about Janae?
I am. I had put it into the chat, but I said I have like as far as speaking, I do high school, college, and corporation, but I have expanded it to also books and online courses that can be expanded into all those groups as well.
Wow, great.
That's very cool. Love it. Love it. Kaim, how about you with your delicious candy?
Honestly, when you're swimming upstream and you're fighting day to day, you don't think long term. At least in my case, we're looking at quarter to quarter to quarter, and the brittles we're trying to make something that is, it's not just a seasonal event. It's something that you can enjoy all year long. One of the things that we're trying to tap into is the emotion of the candy itself, something that resonates with you from times back and thoughts previous. We've added nuts to diversify with the candied nuts, which has been a nice balance. But stepping further out than that, I'm really, maybe ice cream toppings, something further down the line with some of the pieces that are left over at the bottom of the batch. But honestly, I haven't given any fact or thought to extended long term or additional products somewhere down the line.
Kaim, it's such you bring up such an excellent point. I mean, if we sit around dreaming big thoughts instead of hustling to get product out the door and into our channels, it's hard to build a great brand with no revenue. So I totally hear you. It's always a balance. But I love, even the initial thoughts that you have right there. Can the brittle crumbs be a wonderful ice cream topping? That can be the kind of thing you can play with on the side. If you got enough crumbs left over from production batches and put them together, and you got a spare Saturday afternoon, pop down to an ice cream store and say, hey, would you like to try some toppings for free? Just let me know if you like them, and if I'd love your feedback, and maybe I'll come back and offer you some for sale someday if they if people like them. But it's trying to work it in, but I totally get the reality. but trying to push yourself to spend a little bit of time on it, as you can, just can pay off so much, because you never know where that little side thing can hit and end up becoming even bigger than your current product.
Good deal. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. This is Quandale. I found it interesting that a couple slides back, a lot of the brands, their brand statement doesn't necessarily reflect what they do. Which is something that I've been struggling with. I spoke with Dennis in the past about sort of crystallizing a brand statement. And I feel like personally, for me, where I am right now, that is one of the things that's going to help me sort of move forward.
You know, it is fascinating. Some of these give hints about what they sell. You know, Airbnb, we believe travel's better when you experience as an insider. It kind of suggests that they're in the travel business, but it doesn't say exactly, does it? You know, and yet when you go to something like Coca-Cola to refresh the world, inspire moments of optimism, you know what they sell. You know, do they sell hairspray or
Right.
soda? You can't
Right.
tell.
I have one for Quandel. We believe if you have a body, you're a freedom hiller.
I like it.
you know, I've been toying with the which is using a lot of the statements that we were smoking on earlier as the resilient pursuit of success. I don't know if resilience has been used so much in mainstream that it may be something that I may want to steer away from, but it sort of speaks to my heart. It speaks to my mission. It speaks to, and I jotted these things down, which I don't see where I jotted them down, but it sort of speaks to who I am as well. So
that's really the most important thing is getting to your why. Why, you know, we talk about that all the time.
Right.
But it's really a fundamental thing you have got to figure out, or the rest of it is window dressing, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I love that, you know, resilience really reflects who you are. I gotta believe that will not only help you speak more authentically about your brand, but also help people get more excited about what you stand for, because ultimately brands stand for something. You know, it is a relationship with the consumer, and it's hard to have a relationship with something that's two-dimensional. You know, that's just very, very simple-minded, and there's not much to it. You know, there's so much depth to how you talk about resilience and how it reflects who you are. That's something that I want to have a relationship with as a consumer. You know, so I really think that's the kind of thinking that can pay off, no question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just so love the discussion. As we think about, you know, new brands and being able to address needs, it's amazing how dynamic. I guess I don't have to tell anybody these days how much the world changes and how rapidly it can change. We've all lived that like crazy people over the last 20 months, and new brands can help allow new needs and new emerging trends to be effectively addressed. I mean, at the upper left in this page, Impossible Foods. I mean, 3 years ago, who was asking for plant-based, laboratory-grown meat? Nobody. And yet it's something that has emerged, and consumers are really excited about it. And a new set of brands was created to bring it up. I understand the lab-grown chicken nuggets are next. So look for that, maybe at the Chick-fil-A near you. You know, EOS came out of nowhere in 2013 when you know, all the wonderful legacy little chapstick and Burt's Bees cylindrical containers were all the rage for lip balms. They decided, you know what, lip balms can be a fashion statement, you know, with color, with a cool shape. They got involved with some social media personalities to help rocket it up. Apparently, one of them had a medical issue with their EOS and tweeted about it, and they went rocketing right back down. They kind of lived and died by social media, but they became a real sensation back in the middle 2010s. Honest was created. They just went public a couple months ago. Not doing so well from stock price, but you know, Jessica Alba founded them about 15 years ago, thinking that there was room in the world for, you know, a new, very safe, very healthy and authentic kind of brand for diapers and cleaning products, shampoos and things like that. And that company has grown like crazy. In fact, a good friend of mine is Nick Vlahos, who's their president right now. Came from Clorox, you know, legacy brand, and now he's running Honest with Jessica. great branding, and you may love them, you may not, but you got to admit they've really helped create a lot of value in the space that they decided to go conquer. And back to the blades thing, I don't know how many of you have seen. Right by now, it's actually an ancient viral video for Dollar Shave Club. But that viral video just launched that brand, and it was kind of the initial anti-Gillette. We don't need no stinking 20 blades on a razor and, tennis star contracts for endorsements and everything else. We just give you something cheap, but it works, and it very, manly kind of thing, which is appropriate because it was being marketed to men, and it literally came out of nowhere. And I think it was 7 years or so before it was purchased for over $1 billion by Unilever. And again, and by the way, the old days where Gillette was an 80% dollar share brand in the U.S. market, they're well under 50% now, because these new brands are picking up on emerging needs, and the entrepreneurs with the new brands and small firms are able to more nimbly follow the consumer trends than the massive corporate giant of Gillette. And then, of course, it was purchased by Procter & Gamble, even bigger corporate giant. And P&G just wasn't as nimble as these startup brands have been at following, where is their unmet need or an emerging gap between where consumers' heads are at and where the legacy brands are that are trying to meet their need.
Or even how to talk to emerging categories, right? This is an example here. This Dollar Shave Club is it's an age thing that's how certain people think. That's how they talk, and you're not going to see Gillette with a effing blades like those guys. So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, you may agree or you may disagree with Gillette's approach. They had, some ads where men were really rethinking, the potentially toxic effects of masculinity. It's almost like the opposite of the brash, designed to outrage in a way messaging that Dollar Shave Club had. So just very different places that the brands are in, and there's clearly room for both. But the point is that that gap that wasn't being effectively addressed by the legacy brand, that became a financial opportunity that made some people very rich, and this isn't just an example of something that's special about the last 10 years. This is an ongoing story. As long as humans continue to change and adapt and have new circumstances and new needs, and new generations come on to think differently than their parents and their elders, it's always going to be the case. And this is the opportunity that each of you have in front of you. And the neat thing about it is that new brands can either come about and grow and continue to be independent. You may want to take your awesome brands that you are building today and pass them on to your children or their children. And I worked for a 5th generation family company. S.C. Johnson was founded back in 1886. And they're on the 5th generation. Fitz Johnson's now in his 60s, so it's going to go on to the 6th generation pretty darn soon. And they have no intention of selling. And maybe that'll be you. Maybe in the year 2021, you'll want 4 generations from now your progeny to be bringing your brand alive and continuing to sell it. But it's also possible, whether it's you or whether it's your kids, if you pass your business on to your children, or the classic wall that family businesses hit is at the 3rd generation. Because the entrepreneur that started it has the entrepreneurial energy. The 2nd generation children grew up with that energy in their house. And the 3rd generation is disconnected from that initial creation story. And sometimes it goes past, sometimes it doesn't. But the cool thing is, you will always have a market if you choose to sell your business with legacy brands. And why do they do this? huge companies like Unilever, over $60 billion, Procter & Gamble, same story. They can create their own brands. Why do they buy our startup brands? Well, the reason is because they sometimes do such an exceptional job of identifying and then meeting a new consumer need that rather than try to rebuild and follow something that's already been done, it's more profitable for them to just buy it and incorporate it and adopt it. And the other thing is, sometimes those brands can help teach the parent company to change. Unilever specifically bought Ben and Jerry's, and they also, by the way, they bought them in 2000, and they bought Dollar Shave Club in 2016. They bought them not just to be part of their company, and they also, by the way, bought Seventh Generation in 2016. They didn't buy them just to make them part of a portfolio of brands. By the way, all these brands were bought by Unilever, but they bought them to learn from them. And in the case of Dollar Shave Club, it was to learn how to do direct-to-consumer marketing by e-commerce. Clearly, Dollar Shave Club was doing an outstanding job of it. Unilever foresaw that this was going to become more and more important versus their brick and mortar business of putting product on store shelves and selling that way. They wanted to learn, and they wanted to incorporate it across the rest of their businesses. With Ben and Jerry's, they bought them partly because of their social consciousness. They wanted, of course, the sort of their vibe on a natural food product, but they also wanted sort of the way they talk to their consumer. And they've recently gotten in a bit of hot water. You may be aware that I think it was about 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, Ben and Jerry's announced that they were no longer going to sell product in the West Bank because of disagreements with the Israeli government over their way that they're governing the West Bank. So they waded squarely into the bullseye middle of the Middle East conflict. I mean, talk about a bit of a bold move that most companies shy away from. And Unilever, interestingly enough, has stuck with it. They didn't force them to pull back. They didn't try to whitewash it or cover it over and say, oh, we really didn't mean it. You know, those guys, we don't know what they're doing. They owned it. And they said, well, this is one of our brands. This is what they believe in. We're standing behind them. And New York State has threatened to do various things to Unilever as a result, but they're holding firm. So it's a great example where they're not just buying them for their sales, they're buying them so that they can change who they are through new brands that bring new thinking and address new consumer needs and new trends, and they want to be part of it. And that's what they're buying. And who knows whether it's a East Carolina company or whether you're not a pirate grad, but are spiritually part of the pirate nation. Hopefully your brands will become opportunities to become a part of an even bigger story if someday you choose to sell it and have it be scaled by an even larger firm. So that's what I had. I'd love any of your thoughts or reactions on this whole incredible adventure of brands finding new needs and potentially becoming part of bigger enterprises.
Yeah, I think every time I hear Andy, I'm ready to go do a startup and run out the door. And, you know, just get. He's like the Vince Lombardi of business. He just makes me want to go through walls. So that's my contribution. Anyone else want to come in? I know we're at the end of our time. Hopefully you can stay. If you have anything, Ruth, did you want to say something?
I had a question about Burt's Bees on,
Sure.
When they were an acquisition target, what did, were the determining factors? What made them attractive? Was it the brand, the product? What was cool about them?
Great question, Ruth. So I can speak from the Clorox perspective. Others were bidding on them, such as L'Oreal was in the bidding, and we thought Estee Lauder might be as well. But Clorox won, partly because they were willing to bid enough money, but also partly because the Burt's Bees people were actually really excited about being owned by Clorox because they knew Clorox wasn't in personal care. So they would likely be more respectful of maintaining the culture and learning from the Burt's Bees organization than somebody that's in the personal care business that might change their direction. But one thing that Clorox was especially excited about was the authentic culture that Burt's Bees had. Clorox is a great brand building company, and they saw that, starting with Bert, there was a real Bert. He really had real bees, and there was a real story behind it. And, he and Roxanne Quimby would be going, initially selling candles, going from state fair to state fair in Maine, and little stores and everything else. And eventually,
I think he was in ZZ Top before he did Burt's Bees. Don't you think?
oh, he sure looks like it, doesn't he? But Ruth, to your point, it was an authentic brand. I mean, it couldn't get more authentic. It had the picture of the founder on the thing, and they had a very strong sense of mission and purpose. They really believed that natural was better for personal care, and their mission was to help bring these kinds of products to consumers all over the country and ultimately all over the world. And they had a very specific set of criteria for naturalness. They were very proud of it. They published it. They did things to help bees, that colony disease that was going on for a while. They were raising money, to save the bees and things like that. They just had a very, very authentic brand. And it was also very extendable. They could clearly get into other things. Now you can buy Burt's Bees pet shampoo if you want, by the way, and so they could go into other areas. So it was mainly the brand and the power of the brand, the extendability of it, the belief that Clorox, and by the way, also Clorox felt like they could expand distribution. They could get them into Costco. They could get them more broadly into Walmart. They could get them around the world. In ways that the company hadn't yet done. So the brand was powerful, it was very sticky with consumers. It could grow a number of ways, distribution, geography, expanding into new categories. And it was very authentic. It wasn't the kind of brand that would be found out, someone would discover Bert was actually a drug addict or, had sold child slaves or something, it was a real thing. And in fact, at the Burt's Bees headquarters, if you go down to Durham, North Carolina, you'll find the actual turkey coop that Bert lived in Maine. It was disassembled, shipped down to North Carolina, and reassembled right in front of the headquarters of Burt's Bees in Durham, North Carolina. They try to live authentically to the roots of the brand, and so it's a long answer to your question, Ruth, but got a lot of passion for that one. So
great. Well, listen, I'm going to pull this to a close unless somebody is dying for a question. I know we're over our time, and I'm aware of that, but Andy is available. I can get you his contact information. I have this slide deck, so I'll distribute that so everyone can see it. Andy, once again, thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your insights that are just so incredible for us on the outside of this whole world to get an idea of how all this works is just really wonderful. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you got it. It was a pleasure to meet all of you, and I'll be cheering for all your businesses. And if you have questions, feel free to fire off an email. I'd be happy to do a follow-up discussion or advice by email, whatever can be helpful. I'm cheering for you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.